Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. I'll be right back.
Astrid. Are you there?
Astrid appears to be there, but she's muted and no camera.
I know.
Cameraless.
Did you just get your coffee?
This is my second cup, actually.
It's my first.
Mm.
I woke up late.
Mm.
Hi, Dennis.
Morning.
Morning, Dennis. Alrighty then.
Dennis, if I call you later this afternoon, would that be all right?
Yeah, I should be home probably. Well, what's your number? I can call you.
Okay. It's 50. Oh, we're recording. Here.
Are we? Oh, put it in the chat.
I will.
Yeah, I've had to set the recording to automatic. Otherwise, I forget to do it.
That's okay. No, it's all good. I'll just use the tool.
So I'm just going to email Meredith and make sure she's not stuck in traffic. Get it?
I don't get it.
Really?
Hi, Seth. I miss you.
How are you?
I'm good. I miss you guys. I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. You guys got to be like, hi, good morning. It's a beautiful day. Yes.
I'm just starting on the first cup. I'll get there.
Oh, okay. And I haven't even drank my coffee yet. That's what I'm like before I drink coffee. Wait until you see me after.
I'm scared.
Seth, you've already seen me after. Don't be scared.
All right. Just checking here. Making sure she's got the link.
No. Don't worry. The camera's not on. Oh,
Nope,
sorry.
camera's not on, but the mic is.
The mic was. My apologies.
Oh, that's great.
I had
That
someone
was
walking
awesome.
behind me. And they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Oh, it's Friday.
Yeah.
Uh,
Dennis, are you feeling calm, relaxed?
burned out.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I've still got a bunch to do, so I'll be busy for the next couple months.
Yeah, I hear you.
I spent the 17th making sure I'd filed everybody's extension, so I wouldn't be having my name attached to a failure to file penalty. So
Mm.
Yep, that's what I spend the day before. I actually make sure everything is done.
Yeah,
the day
yeah,
before,
I think
and
it was
spend
the day
the
before.
17th. I usually spend deadline day doing my own taxes. That's like my tradition for the last 10 years.
Well, my tradition is to do mine in October, usually like October 14th.
Yep, I've done
Okay.
that too.
Got to create a little stress for myself to get it done.
All right, Meredith should be joining us any minute. I'm going to start the live feed on Facebook, on Bookface.
On Bookface. I'll go back you up on Bookface.
All right, we're starting the live feed on Bookface. Good morning, Meredith. Sorry, I think that was my fault. I forgot to actually add you as a panelist. So I was
I
sitting
just
like,
registered.
are you just
so, no.
registered as an attendee?
Yeah. So.
That's funny. All right, hang on. We're going to go live on Facebook now. Astrid, make sure your camera's still off or whatever you need to do. That was really funny. All right, and we're going live. It's funny because it always takes a while to register here, but when you watch the replay, it's clear that it's already recording by now. It's just, but the Zoom app is like still kind of loading it. It's kind of funny. It's really not funny.
I was going to say that, but I let you say it.
Almost there. Okay, good morning.
Meredith, where's your red coat?
Friday. It's April 20th, 2018. We're out of the woods. Tax season is over. I'm going to post a live feed in our official Facebook group right now at Between Wall and Main. Strategy Forum. Of course, make sure you're in the Between Wall and Main Strategy Forum. And then, Meredith, should we post it in Fundera Town Hall as well?
I think we should.
I think we should too. I think it would be apropos.
Absolutely.
I think Edgar Allan Poe would agree that it was apropos. And we're live with the one and only Meredith Wood.
Hello. I feel like it's been forever.
I know, it has been forever. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good, actually. How are you guys? Tax season is done.
Yeah, everybody's relieved.
Well, not really, but
The
We
truth
can
is
pretend.
now they just have to go through all the extensions they filed.
yeah, I was going to say, let's enjoy this week and then it's back to it.
Exactly. All right, one more Facebook group to post it in. Fundera Town Hall. Town Hall. And then we'll actually get started. Then I'll be able to actually focus and have a conversation.
No worries.
There it is, Town Hall by Fundera. I had it backwards.
Uh-oh, it says my internet connection is unstable. Are you guys still seeing me okay?
Just ignore it. It's Zoom that's unstable.
Okay.
Talking about this group. All right, let me check for typos real quick. Almost there. God, so much like work to do just to get this started. All right, so we have to start with the really important question, Meredith. What are we drinking this morning?
Emergency.
Oh, do you have a cold?
So I've been like on the the border of a cold for probably 2 weeks now. There she is, live and in action. Sorry, I got distracted. So, but I leave town this evening for 2 weeks, so I'm trying to like avoid going into that territory. So,
Gotcha.
a little precautionary.
Understand. What do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, or something like that?
Really?
Something like that.
Did not know that.
Yeah, there's an expression like that. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, or something like that. Google it. I'm sure you'll find it, right?
Yeah, it sounds very wise.
So tell me what's going on with Town Hall by Fundera. First of all,
Yeah.
I took a page out of your book. I loved how when you guys started it, you created that quadrant of images in the group with the kind of instructions. Every group should follow suit and do that. It was brilliant because it was visual and it actually made it fun and engaging to click on those images. And I actually wanted to read that stuff. Normally I never want to read that stuff. It's boring stuff. It's like the group rules and be nice to others and the obvious things usually. But I started promoting these Friday Zoom calls in a very similar manner. I learned that from you guys. So tell me, let's back up. What was the impetus for creating Town Hall? What made you think of doing it? Why did you do it? And what's going on with it today?
Yeah. So I'll go way back. And I think for those in the community that do know Fundera know that our products, as expressed by this wonderful shirt right here that Seth is wearing, as we very much are a marketplace for business owners to come and shop and apply for different financial products. There is a huge component of our business around education, and majority of our visitors come to this site to sort of consume education. And now that we've also been in business for 4+ years, we sort of have this really awesome community of small business owners that we work with on a continual basis. And I would have to be honest, like I think have been really inspired by the groups on Facebook that my friends in the accounting world are in. And I think that I've seen how you guys kind of come together and help each other solve issues with different clients or have questions about software. And so there was this idea of like, as a business owner, like you feel siloed often. Like you might have particular people you've contracted out to help with your business, such as your bookkeeper or your accountant from a financial perspective. But in reality, like, wouldn't it be great to talk to other people that are going through exactly what you're going through and to help answer questions you may have? So that was the idea. It's like, let's bring all these entrepreneurs we now have relationships with together to talk to each other. And then also all of our relationships we do have in the accounting world to bring them in as well, because a lot of their questions are very, very finance heavy and tax heavy. And so it's a great opportunity for people in that world to sort of provide their perspective and hopefully maybe make some matchmaking happen for people that are taking the plunge and getting a bookkeeper for the first time or an accountant for the first time.
I love that. First of all, I love the name Town Hall. When I first saw it, I was like, that's brilliant, because it gives me this image of a place where people are going to get together and collaborate. I don't know what it was, because normally you think of Town Hall as like a governmental thing, but for whatever reason, I think it gave me exactly the image that you intended to portray, of a place, Town Hall. Everybody's going to come together, in the town, in the center of town, and get together and hang out. And I love the fact that your group does face a lot of business owners, because quite frankly, in our accounting groups, it's all accountants, right? There's very, very few business owners. I'm sure there's some, but for the most part, and as accountants, we should be looking for opportunities to get in front of business owners more, because let's face it, those are the people who are going to be our clients at the end of the day, right? So, and those are the people who probably most need our help. Don't get me wrong, I love our accounting groups and I love how supportive everyone is of one another. Whereas, one might think of it as competition. We don't. We have the attitude very much that there's plenty to go around and we're always happy to help one another. And I love that about our industry. But I also think that we, maybe some of us, I shouldn't generalize, but that there are probably those of us, like myself, I'm saying this for myself as much as anyone else, who need to remember to get focused on getting in front of business owners and going into a group like Town Hall and not spamming it, of course, but actually just engaging with the people who, again, who probably most need our help and who then could potentially become our clients or refer clients, right? That's the name of the game.
I think that's what's really great about our position in all this. We do have a lot of really close relationships in the accounting world. So it's like I know these people. I know they're not going to come in and spam. First of all, but you also know people's strengths. So it is a little bit of that, going back to that matchmaking. If somebody has a specific question and it's like, well, I know these people, like, who should I bring into the conversation that I think would be like a great tax person to talk to, or is going to talk about software?
I have kind of a dumb question. What is town hall? I mean, is
Or
it?
things of the sorts when the conversations get really tough. Can you guys see me okay? Am I frozen?
Yeah, no, it just cut out for a second. And real quick, Meredith, Mariette, now we have too many M's in the group. Mariette posted in the chat, in the Facebook feed, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's a Benjamin Franklin quote. So,
Ooh.
And then Dennis is asking,
Yeah.
what is town hall? So I'll obviously let you answer that.
Yeah. So specifically, Town Hall is a Facebook group for small business owners and their advocates. And it's just facebook.com. Let me make sure I can drop the URL.
If you just search Town Hall on Facebook, it'll come up. You'll see it's Town Hall by Fundera. And I'll post it.
Yeah. I'll put it in our chat here too, so you have it. It's facebook.com/Fundera Town Hall. You do need to just request access for the group. We do that, do a little bit of screening so we don't get spammers in there and things of this sort. But you'll see what's great about it is it's truly a place where you're meeting Main Street small businesses. These are people that are running dry cleaners or restaurants or retail shops. And I think that, like, there's very many different versions of a business. Like, we ourselves are a tech startup and we are a younger business, but like our business operates very differently than a lot of these people that are running like true brick and mortar locations or some of these smaller businesses do. And so it's absolutely free to join, and it's meant to be a resource really for business owners, again, to connect with each other when they have questions and connect with financial experts when they have tougher questions. And there have been some really awesome conversations that have happened. And I think for the accounting community, like I said earlier, it's a great opportunity to be present because it puts you in front of people that see potential customers. But like many of you also run your own businesses as well. So you are also do other things unrelated to the financial side that you might want to be active on.
That answer your question, Dennis?
Yeah, could I get the link?
I posted on the live Facebook feed, and then I'll post it in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it now. Thanks.
Yep, there it is. So I've really enjoyed, by the way, guest posting on the Fundera Ledger blog. And speaking of, again, because it's a broader audience that we're facing, and I've gotten some really good connections, frankly, as a result of that. So I think Fundera Town Hall is just a great extension of the community that you've built around the blog. And so, I mean, are your goals with it just kind of that, sort of general, like just to give people a place to connect, or did you have anything more specific in mind?
I mean, I think right now it's trying to provide value through connections. I think the thing that I don't probably know is that when you have a group, you can have a group, but for the group to have value, there has to be a little bit of structure and connection making on the administrative side. So really making sure it's not just a place that people are signing up for and getting nothing out of, but they're actually getting value, getting their answers questioned, and meeting like-minded people. So that's sort of phase one. I think, phase two is like once this community is really engaged and is getting that value, it'll probably become a zone for us to, like, frankly, just learn more about our customers. What are the questions that they are asking that we can produce more content around? Like, they can't be answered in a simple Facebook answer. I think, Seth, like a lot of the work you do with us is highly technical and does require like a video that's, much, much longer and much more in depth. And so that kind of stuff, that connection between, like, I've asked this question, I've gotten an answer, but we really need more to get to it. So since we do produce so much content, my hope is that it will become, and it sort of already has, a bit of an idea generator for us to make sure we're answering the toughest and most important questions for these business owners. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's also this idea of, like, can we take this to an in-person? And this idea of, like, if this group grows to a place where we've got, like a good amount of people in certain locales can it be because they just really meet face to face. Because I think the thing that I'm always most surprised about now, having worked with small business owners for quite some time, is how fragmented they all actually are. There's very few real communities to bring them together, so they can help kind of each other in terms of tackling their problems. I've always been really, really inspired by, my father is a home builder, and he has been part of this group for, forever, since I was really, really young, so maybe almost 2 decades, where twice a year he meets other builders throughout the country, and they have, the whole idea is you're placed with people in this group of about 20 to 30 that you don't compete with, and you meet and you just share ideas and walk through how you do things. And he hands down says it's the best thing he's ever done for his business, because he's getting advice from people that are going through exactly the same thing he is. And that's sort of something I keep thinking about, is like, how do we create this for business owners who maybe feel like they don't have anybody right now that really understands their business? Because that's what's really important at Fundera, is when you come to us, and whatever way you interact with us, you should feel like it's an experience built for you specifically. So that's sort of the goal, I would say, over time.
Right. And that's one thing, by the way, that I've always loved about Fundera and your brand there, is that it isn't just about helping people get loans, which in and of itself is amazing, but it's about educating small businesses and making them better informed. Yeah, of course, about loans and when should you get a loan and what kind of loan should you get. And by the way, and I wasn't asked to do this, I'm not being paid to say this, one of my clients he had applied for a loan with one company, who of course claims that they source it to lots of different places, but they only give him one answer and say, here's the loan we can offer you. And I said, no. It was ridiculous. The interest rate was ridiculous, and they weren't giving him as much of a loan as he really wanted and needed. So I said, go to Fundera. And he did, and within like 2 days, he had, as always is the case with Fundera, a list of loans to choose from, 2 of which were for the exact amount he wanted, and both of which had much better rates than what he was offered by the other company. So let me just say this on behalf of Fundera for everyone listening: just go to Fundera. Don't waste your time with anyone else. Just go there. You can connect it to your QuickBooks Online company so that a lot of the information can be sourced for you, saves time filling out the application, and then your application gets sent to many places so that you can choose from among the offers and figure out which one is the best solution for you, which isn't necessarily always the lowest interest rate, by the way. You really have to consider where you are and what you need and why you need it and how long you need it for and all that kind of stuff. So, important stuff. I noticed that you're doing a lot of live video in the Facebook group, which I don't think enough Facebook groups are doing that, myself included. In my case, it's because I just don't have the time, but I'm trying to figure out a way to make the time. But I love that, like, even when I go in there today, it looks like within the last, couple, no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at a pinned post. So it's from March 29th, live at the General Assembly with Kristen Uritig of Brooklyn. I just love that you're going live and using that live video platform that Facebook clearly wants us to use to make the group more engaging. You know, when, for example, Hector and I started the video marketing for accounting professionals group, especially being that it was a video-based group, you know, the idea that I had in mind, and I think Hector agreed with me, was that feed should be flooded with videos.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You know, and I think that's the way these groups should be. I mean, when I think of Town Hall, again, I think of it as a place where we all come together. I get this image of a group of people. And so I wonder if you'll mind, Meredith, if I encourage people to get into the group and post videos talking about your experience with respect to starting a business, and even more importantly, maybe because we're accountants and bookkeepers who work with a lot of businesses, talk about your experiences with respect to helping these businesses. What did it take to get them started? What did it take? What have you seen business owners do that you feel made them successful? You know, and what makes the difference? I think a lot of people want to know this. What really makes a difference between what makes a business successful and what doesn't? You know, why do businesses fail? Why do 80% of all businesses fail in the first 5 years, right? We all want to know that answer because we want to avoid that pitfall. We don't want to be one of those 80%. We want to be one of the 20, right? How do we do that? What are the tips and tricks based on the experience that you have? So, and do it in a video. You know, Mariette is amazing about going live. I think she goes live about every 6 minutes on Facebook.
I think
So,
there's a couple of things in there I loved that you said, Seth. I think in terms of video, and the one you called out on Town Hall, Fundera ourselves we're located in New York City, but our customers are everywhere. And so we were putting on this event with this woman who specializes in budgeting for entrepreneurs. And it's like, that's the thing, you go live with it and all of a sudden everybody in the group can now watch this versus just the people that can attend the event. And that feels like a no duh, but people aren't doing it. And I also think the other thing with video is a lot of people feel like it has to be like perfect production quality. But I'm literally just sitting in a phone booth in my office on my computer. And I think that especially with like my audience, they're people and they're people wanting to connect with people. It doesn't have to be like overly stylized. The content just needs to be good. And so that's the other thing is I think that don't let that be a barrier for you, that you think you have to have a nice camera or you need to have a microphone or things of this sort to do this. That's really, really important.
yeah. In fact, what I would suggest for people to do, because I've done this myself, sometimes I want to go live, but and then I hesitate because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. I don't know what I want to talk about. I mean, I could go live and just go off the cuff and just talk, but then I'm afraid I'll be all over the place. So what I would suggest is make a few bullet points. Use an app like Dynalist, right, which is like making bullet points on steroids. It's like Workflowy, which I used to talk about a lot, but I like Dynalist better now. And so just bang out a few bullet points and just having written them out, you don't even really need to have them in front of you, especially if you just do like 2 or 3 or max 5, because just writing them out is enough, I think, to organize the thoughts in your head. And then you go live for like 60 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever it is. If you want to do it on Instagram, limit it to 60 seconds because you can go live on Facebook and then you can subsequently share that video to Instagram if you keep it under 60 seconds. So that's another good rule. But if you're at an event, then just go live and go live in the group. I think some people might be afraid that the admins of that group are going to get mad at them. My thing as an administrator of the Between Wall and Main Strategy Forum, I don't mind it. I would love to see more people going live. If you're not sure about the content, then just ask. Just ping us in Facebook Messenger. Like I could ping Meredith and say, hey, Meredith, I want to go live in Town Hall about this subject. Are you okay with that? That's always the respectful thing to do anyways. Check with the admins of the group. You can easily find who the admins are in a group by clicking where it says members. And then within that, you can click to see who the admins are. It'll show you. In fact, I just clicked over in Town Hall and right away, I don't even have to click anything. The first section is admins and moderators, right? So you can do that so you know exactly whom to reach out to and say, hey, I would love to go live in your group. Here's my topic. Are you okay with it? Or like we did not that long ago, Meredith, where you had me go live you just had to make me an admin for the day in Town Hall, and I used Zoom to do a live webinar, which we broadcast, and I love that option. We're doing it right now, right? I'm live on my Facebook page using Zoom. The webinar product in Zoom is the one that allows you to do that. So I think it's clear that Facebook wants us to do this more and more. It seems to want videos more and more. And then, it's funny because somebody had asked me when Zoom first brought out this feature about, where you could go live. You could go live on either Facebook or YouTube. And somebody, I forget who it was, somebody said, Seth, why aren't you going live on YouTube? There's so many more users out there. And so, again, I had to remind somebody, as I've often had to, when it comes to content and building and creating an audience, it's not about the numbers. Yes, there's millions and millions and millions of people on YouTube. There's also millions of people on Facebook. Bottom line is I could reach more people faster on YouTube, but the question is, how targeted are they? How much do those people really care about what I'm talking about, right? Facebook, I think, and the reason I chose to do it on Facebook is I think Facebook offers a platform where the people who you're reaching are much more interested, much more likely to be interested in what you're sharing when you're sharing in a live video feed online.
Yeah, it's great.
So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think it's something that's going all the way back to what you said about the experience that your client had with us, which was very kind, and I did not know that. So thank you for mentioning that.
It just happened last week.
It's just, for us, I think the reason I was all connecting to like, why should I even bother doing video? Like for us, our brand at the core, even though we have this product that helps sort of match people with financial products, it's all about education. If you come to us and you do fill out all this information and you made this great note about like sometimes the best loan isn't the lowest cost because maybe it's about the amount, maybe it's about the fact you need money tomorrow. There's also the third thing, which is like maybe you shouldn't be taking on a loan at all. And those are really hard things to decide through. And so for us, it was always like, how do we create a universe for business owners to really start sorting through those things and then sort of build that universe out? Because like it's all about decision making, but ultimately they can't get there without that education. And so I think that if you're considering like, what do I do? Do I want to be doing Facebook Live? What's the point? Like go back to like what it is you are trying to eventually accomplish and the little steps that happen before that. And so like, I think for example, to give people ideas of like what I would love for you to go live with in our group is we do see a healthy amount of business owners that do not have like a true CPA relationship or a true bookkeeper relationship. They have somebody maybe that files their taxes and that's it. And there's a clear difference in our customers that do have those relationships and don't, in terms, I think, of obviously the health of their books, the understanding of their business financials. And that is a really tough thing when you're a business owner, and some of these business owners, it's every month is a fight. Every month is like, am I going to get there? Is this invoice going to come through that I need to make payroll? And so it's hard to add on additional expenses. But I think some videos around how this could actually save them money in the long term to develop one of these relationships, and really around that value. It's not selling your service as a person, it's selling your service holistically, and like what bookkeeping can do for a business or other more, like I feel like with so many people in the accounting industry sort of evolving into almost more that, not quite that CFO role, but you are consulting on more things beyond just doing the books and really helping them choose the softwares and the things to run their business. I think business owners need to understand that value prop, and like that's something that I would love to see more of this conversations happening, because I just am firmly of the belief that every business owner needs to have that relationship, no matter what their financial situation is, because it will pay off. But I think it'd be a lot more, it'd be better coming from all of you.
Right. I think probably the best way to approach that, if I may, is not to so much talk about, what you're going to do, but do a video giving an example of something you might explain to a client were they to ask you this question, right? Mm-hmm. And so again, with Zoom, you can go live in a Facebook group, or you can go live in Facebook directly and share your screen now, actually, with the desktop. You can share your screen, bring up a sample company in QuickBooks Online, and teach people something because one of the classic complaints I get from practically, it seems, every client coming in my door, and the reason they call me in many cases, is their CPA doesn't have the time to give them that kind of advice and guidance. They'll even ask them for it, and their CPA will say, I don't have time for that, I have to do taxes, and that's all their CPA wants to do, which is a shame, because if the CPAs would slow down for a minute, what they might realize is they don't necessarily have to be so busy doing all these taxes. They could actually increase their fees and be more strategic and provide these consulting services and probably make more money and work less. But what do I know? I'm just a dummy with a webcam and a microphone. So anyway, make a video with something really practical that people can actually use. So you're not selling your services. It's not going to come across as spammy. It's going to come across as, wow, that was really helpful. And guess who they're going to think of the next time they do need help along these lines, right? That's how it works. And it amazes me still that a lot of people don't seem to quite grasp that. But that is how it works. That's what I've done, for years now, is I've gone out and I've done videos that teach people how to do something. So much of content tells you what to do, but not how to do it, because they want you to pay them for the how to do it. I say show them how to do it, because they're still going to pay you to know how to do it specifically for their situation. And if they don't need to go that deep, fine. Then what you've done is created a great resource for people that's going to draw in a whole lot of traffic to your brand. So be it. Either way, you win.
I love that. Show them how to do it. Like that should be the summary of this conversation. And it goes back to our relationship with the accounting industry. Like I'm saying, come to our audience. We have this ginormous audience. You're going to find very few with a larger audience than we have, and educate them. Like we want that. We want to connect you with your customers, because our mission at Fundera is to help business owners make better financial decisions. That's what it comes down to. And that we are so closely aligned in our missions with the accounting industry. We want more of that, both in town hall, but like there are definitely other avenues we have, and we're always up to discussing them through social or through email or through our content. But you guys certainly know best, and these business owners, they want this information and they need to hear it. So.
Right. And Alexa's in the live Facebook feed, and she comments, she says, I love her idea, meaning your idea, Meredith, of course, of a get-together. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because I also love that idea. So we're talking about, you can, if you find local accountants, get together in a group and do a live feed, right? And then do like your own little talk show about whatever the subject is. Clear it with Meredith before you do it. Make sure it's cool. It probably will be, you know. But again, it's the respectful thing to do. I don't imagine you want people just randomly going live in town hall. I mean, maybe that's fine, you know.
Once we get to know your content and know that it really is driving value, I think that's, of course, we really would encourage it. But I also think there's a lot there, like in terms of a get together. Like, what about bringing people in the accounting industry with small businesses? Like, what if the event, it's being a talk show, like the people they're talking to, or maybe a few people in their community, and they're able to ask them any question they want related to helping their business. But there's also that opportunity, of course, to engage online, which is people are like, one of my favorite questions to date was somebody had asked about, like, at what point should I incorporate from like becoming basically sole prop to S Corp, and like Hector came in with like this very definitive answer. And I was like, that is so wonderful. You literally just saved that person money, because they have the exact benchmark at what point in revenue they need to make the switch.
Right.
I want more of that, because like I wouldn't have been able to answer that question. You don't want me answering that question. I need people like Hector answering that question.
Right. And a lot of people want to know what kind of business. A lot of people are still confused about, should I do an LLC or an S Corp? Or if I'm doing an LLC, should I file as a partnership or an S Corp? Or, you know, should I be a sole, you know, there's a lot of questions. I'm sure that every business owner has these questions, especially when they're starting out. And even probably long after, some are not sure if they chose the right thing, because who knows how they came to that decision. Maybe they just went on LegalZoom and filed the first thing that came up. You know, who knows? Yeah. So,
I mean, my dad has been in business since like the 1980s, and he changed his corporation status maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because finally, that's crazy to think he was incorporated in the structure that was not best for his business for pretty much over 3 decades.
Right. And you can switch. You can file a change. You just have to have a good business reason for doing it. And the business reason can't be to save money on taxes. The IRS is not going to accept that. Bruce Anderson is on the live Facebook feed. He's saying, I agree, Seth. That's why I position our firm at the intersection of tax and technology. He says, small business requires more hand-holding. The best position for a CPA is to have a solid relationship with quality bookkeepers, which I love that, right? Because the CPA doesn't want to do the bookkeeping stuff, doesn't have the time to do it. But I think both CPA and bookkeeper need to talk more with one another, perhaps, than they do. Need to make it respectful. I'll be very honest. I see all too often situations where CPAs can be condescending towards bookkeepers because they, I think, get a little impatient and think, oh, they don't know what they're doing and I don't have the time or patience to teach them, right? Give them a chance. Teach them, because the more you teach them what you know, the better they'll be able to serve you and get you what you need quickly, efficiently. So like I always say this, in the last year especially, it seems to be a theme. Front load things. Put a little work and effort in up front. That goes for relationships. That goes for relationships with people, with clients, with everyone. Put in the work up front. It'll make it work so much better in the long run. You know how I learned probably 90% of what I know? Because I had aligned myself with a CPA whom I had worked for a bit. And I listened to, because I really respected his knowledge, I listened to everything he said and I absorbed it like a sponge. I think I remember, everything he ever taught me. And he was the one who taught me answers to questions like, what business type should I choose when starting a business? And one of the most important things I learned in there is, it depends on what kind of business it is, and it depends where that business is, right? Because different states have different rules, and for those reasons, you have different reasons for wanting to be one versus the other. So there's so many dynamics to this that it's really important. And I just really want to, good morning, Brandon Morris. I really want to encourage CPAs to be kind to the bookkeepers. They're already nervous because they know that you know more than they do. And all it takes is one condescending tone with one email or voicemail or whatever, and it makes them feel terrible. And now they're afraid to talk to you. What I would encourage you to do is inspire them to want to talk to you, inspire them to want to learn from you. Because again, the more they learn from you, the better they'll be able to serve you and the easier they will make your life. Guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And same with the business owners, right? Same with the business owners, because the business owners, same thing. The business owners get intimidated by their CPA because they think their CPA is like this all-knowing god or goddess who has all this knowledge, and I don't want to bother them. They're very busy. Imagine a relationship where you made sure that they knew that not only weren't you too busy for them, that you encouraged and embraced the idea of them coming to you for guidance and advice. Do something really insane like I started doing this year. Create a dedicated Slack workspace for each of your clients where they can come in and ask questions 24/7. I know most people are going to say you're crazy for even suggesting it. I've done it, and I guarantee you the things you're afraid of about it are not going to come to pass. You're not going to get overwhelmed and inundated. People will respect your time, but they will also love that you're willing to provide them with the platform and the opportunity to tap into the incredible knowledge that you have. And I've done it, and some people get excited about the novelty of it. So in the beginning, it's, and there have been a few times where I was like, all right, this is getting a little out of control, but it always tapers off. Once they realize, okay, he's there, the novelty wears off, and then they just use it as a resource in a very reasonable way. I've not yet found one person that I felt was taking advantage. So.
Hey, Seth?
Yes, sir.
On Slack, if you have it for individual clients, do you have to have an individual subscription for each client, or can you have like one subscription and just have private channels?
No. First of all, you always go with free. You never pay for it.
Right.
At a certain point, you'll reach that limit where you hit 10,000 messages, and they'll tell you that you need to start paying if you don't want to lose the old messages. And you have a decision to make, right? If it's a client that's paying me $1,500 a month, I don't mind paying $300 a year to keep that going, right? It's worth it. I have more than enough profit in there to cover that cost.
But what I don't want is for clients to be able to see other clients' messages.
No, that's why you create a separate dedicated workspace for each one. Then nobody can see anybody else's stuff. And because the problem with, you could do one single channel for all clients and have private channels for each client, but then you only get one channel per client. The point is, with a dedicated Slack workspace, I can be organized about the channels and have a channel for banking discussions and a channel for accounts receivable discussion and a channel for sales. For my e-commerce clients that I'm really building aggressively now, I can have a channel for each sales channel, right? So I have a channel for Amazon and for eBay and for, Squarespace, so you can organize the conversations within that workspace because it's dedicated, one channel per client.
Okay, so just to clarify, so you would get a separate login for each workspace, is that the deal?
You create a separate workspace for each client, which means each client gets their own dedicated workspace. They have their own login, and nobody else is logging into the same one. And if you're using the mobile app, you have on the sidebar all the different channels that you have set up. So you just click which channel I want to go in to. Like, Meredith, you guys use Slack at Fundera. I've been in your office. I've seen it up on people's screens. It keeps.
Yeah, I actually.
Go ahead.
So, I don't know if you can really see this, but on the mobile app, you see how it says Fundera? Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Sort of.
There's an add workspace below. So right there, you could just see all your clients. So if I was one of your clients, it'd be like Fundera, and then it would be like Nerd Enterprises, and you can click into each of your clients, and they're kind of like their own ecosystems. But I mean, that's one way to do it. You could do it the channel way too. I kind of like that idea too, Seth, depending on how much you want to do this. Because then you can have everybody's channel only users, and they only they can only get into certain private channels. It just depends. You could also start there, see how you like it, and then build into workspaces over time. But yeah, there are a lot of Slack messages that get sent in our office.
But each channel you could get the free version for each separate workspace.
Right. Yeah, Dennis, look at my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, so you see, I'm in this Mind Trust IT workspace, which is a side venture I'm working on with somebody. But notice on the left, these are all the different Slack workspaces that I'm logged into. So in a click, I can jump over. A lot of these are different clients. This is my main Nerd Enterprises HQ Command Central Slack channel, right? So the reason, because I had at one point set it up where I had one Slack workspace and had private channels, and you can invite in a client to just one specific channel. But again, the reason I didn't like that in the long run was I couldn't organize the conversations because I only had a single channel for everything for one particular client. Plus, what if I post something in the wrong channel?
Yeah, that's what I would worry about.
Right, which not the end of the world. You can also delete anything and edit anything in Slack. I can't tell you how many times I'm kind of like, I'm surprised actually, because people will post something and then post a correction in a separate comment. And I so badly want to comment on that and saying, you could have just edited the original comment, right? Because I don't know if it's that they don't know that they can do that or if they're just sort of being lazy about it. I don't know. But
Seth, this is Mariette. Can I make a quick comment about just everything you guys have been talking about that relates to this? So in regards to collaboration and inviting teams, you were talking about that on Town Hall, and then obviously you're talking about Slack. So just another idea for those of you that do really want to create that kind of collaborative effort with, bookkeepers, financial accountants, tax preparers, even other disciplines, financial advisors, business attorneys. So I'm currently in an alliance, and we're 13 different experts in different areas. Many of you know a lot of the people that are in them too. Misty Mejia is our marketing branding expert. And so what we do is we actually meet and we have a weekly office hours through Slack. We actually put a Zoom meeting in Slack, and you click on the Zoom meeting through Slack. All of our members join the Zoom meeting, and we open it up for an hour every week on a different, like, small business concern or area of discipline that they need to learn about. So of course, I'll talk about like technology and taxes, and other people accounting, branding, marketing. We have a business attorney that talks about contract entity selection. So I just love what you guys are talking about, because we have to realize that if we want to empower the small business owner, it is a collaborative effort, and there are other professionals out there that want to do this. They want to partner with you. You just need to ask them, and you can find them in platforms like Town Hall and say, who's out there that wants to, grow my network with me and be my partner. And that's another way of really taking advantage of pretty much everything you guys have talked about today, taking advantage of Town Hall, taking advantage of connecting with small business owners, and more importantly, taking advantage of technology like Slack and Zoom and other ways to, meet with people and keep that human connection. It's funny that Seth says I'm on Facebook Live every 6 minutes. Probably it's more like 60 minutes, but you're close. But the point is because I want to keep the human connection. I want people to know that, I'm vulnerable. I'm empathetic. I'm where you're at. I'm a small business owner, and I go through what you go through. So, that's the whole reason why I do that. But the point is that, all of this really comes down to not being overwhelmed by all these technologies or all these Facebook groups, and just really asking for help, because there are people out there that want to group up with you. I found 13 amazing women that want to do this with me, and you can find those people.
Mm-hmm. That's really true.
That's it.
Yep. So I want to just quickly go back and reiterate, just to make sure it's clear. My opinion is that you should have a dedicated Slack workspace for each client, and not every client, but your larger clients. The ones that are, remember, everything should be value added. So the ones that are paying you a little more. In my case, here's what I found. Initially, I was only offering this to clients that were paying $1,500 a month and more. And the tier that I have that's lower than that is $500 a month. I wasn't offering it to them. Eventually, I started offering it to them. You know why? Because it made my life easier. It actually made my life easier. So for that reason, I started adding it. And like I said, the thing that I think most people are afraid of when it comes to doing that has not ever proven to be the case for me, which is that, you're afraid you're going to get overwhelmed and inundated with Slack messages that you have to keep up with. And it just doesn't work out that way. So again, Dennis, going back to your last question, I think you'd want to set up a separate dedicated Slack workspace, because that way you can organize the conversations. Much easier to find what you're looking for later on when you're trying to follow up on something and you're trying to remember what that client said. Imagine having to search through 400 emails. And look, Gmail search is great. I usually don't have that hard of a time finding something when I need it, but it's even easier and faster to find it in Slack. And I'm trying to build something myself these days that is based on the most extremely efficient processes I can create. So if I can save even 30 seconds on a process, I'm going to do it. It's worth it to me, because 30 seconds times every time I do that process starts to add up quite a bit, and across the board makes a tremendous difference for me.
Yeah, plus for me, it would not be if I were to screw up and send the wrong message, it would be when to the wrong people. So
right.
I think the idea, so you can have more than one person in the workspace. So if you had
an infinite number of people.
Yep. So if you had like a client and the bookkeeper and the client, and you could all be in one workspace.
I have a client whose whole team is in the workspace with me and him. And we do have a couple of channels that are private and actually in this one client's case, he didn't even want any private channels. Some clients will want you to do their banking in a private channel and have certain things private because they don't want all their employees to see that, which is great because, again, you have the option of making private channels, and the only people who can even see that those channels exist are the people you've invited into them. So it's not even like they can see that there are channels that they don't have access to if they don't. So you really have that kind of flexibility to allow, in another client's case, he's actually turning his business into a co-op, which means every employee is part owner. So he actually wants it to be a completely open book. He wants them to know and see the conversations that we have. If they're struggling with cash flow, he wants them to know. If they're making a lot of money, he wants them to know. So, Slack is beautiful for that very purpose.
So on the more active channels, you would probably get a paid subscription and keep some of them free and some paid, depending on the volume of.
Well, you pay for the workspace. You don't pay for the channel.
That's what I'm talking
right.
about. Yeah, workspace. Okay.
So, and again, the clients who are the typical client, what I found, the annual fees for Slack once it comes time to pay winds up being around $300 a year is what it typically comes out to. It's per user, but it's per active user, right? So what happens is if Meredith and I and Sarah and you, Dennis, are in a Slack workspace, but you haven't gone in there in a month, Slack will send me an email saying, hey, we're prorating and reducing your fee because Dennis has gone inactive. Okay. And I think that's a really cool and you couldn't be more fair way of pricing. And then in some cases, in let's say the case of a lower paying client, I might be inclined to just not get the paid version, let the old messages die. Who cares? It's not likely I'm going to need that stuff anyway. When you're talking about a limit of 10,000 messages, as far deep as that goes back in time, so again, that's case by case, but certainly when a client's paying me $1,500 a month, if I'm paying for Slack for a few users, $300 a year, I don't mind paying that at all. I think it's well worth it.
Yeah.
And like anything else, it's learning to use the tool, right? Because a lot of people, it's taking the time to learn everything that Slack does. Because once you're in Slack, there's all kinds of things you can do, reminders and all kinds of little / commands that will help you actually manage your workflow. You can star messages, and those starred messages become like a to-do list, right? So if somebody messages you with something, and oftentimes I'm like, I don't have time to do this right now, so I just star it, and I know that I'll have the time on my calendar scheduled to come back to that Slack workspace later, and when I do, I can click to see my feed of all the starred messages, which is global. It will give me a list of all the starred messages no matter what channel it was in, and it gives me a link to click on to jump right over to where that message was so I can see the context of the whole conversation. I mean, again, so I didn't want to make this a Slack webinar, but it's it's a really powerful collaborative tool, and in my opinion, as accountants who serve a lot of business owners, it's something we should use. So there we go, Meredith. My first live video in Fundera Town Hall is going to be about using Slack between business owners and accountants. So they can also.
Well, I have a question for Meredith. I mean, you were on about a year ago. What's changed with Fundera since then?
That is a good question. I like that one. So I would actually say quite a bit. I mean, we've had a massive year in terms of growth and the number of small business owners we've helped. But I mean, I feel like, the Fundera, most people know, is that it's this place that when you need money, you go. It's where you can examine all your options, figure out what's best for your business, and get it. And that was very much about loans when we first started. But I'd say over the course of the past year, primarily in the past 6 months, we've started to expand what that means and have started to do the same for credit cards. And now we're getting into banking. And so for business owners, a lot of them are using credit cards to finance their business, which I have feelings about that on a general scope, but like there are certainly better products for that than others. There are cards that you can get that have 0% intro APR for 15 months. And if you're going to use a credit card to finance your business, you should probably be in that card and not the random one you get in the bank you walk into that has no intro APR and you don't even know what the rewards are. You can save a lot of money for your business in getting in the right credit product, even if you're not financing your business with it. If you're just putting your business expenses on cards, like there is a way that you could do it and get a lot more value out of the money you're already spending than not. So we now started working that into our product, and then bank accounts as well, which is I don't think I realized how banking for business is so very different than for a consumer. It's very hard to find a product out there that has no monthly minimums and no sort of like transaction limits and no monthly fees. Like you think just a nice simple checking account. And so we've sort of branched into this. Instead of just being here to help you find the best loan for your business, we want to help you find the best sort of credit and cash management products for your business, which kind of came out of this core of like, we have this huge editorial audience that comes to visit our site every month. And we were starting to get an idea of like what were their biggest problems they were running into outside of traditional loans, and starting to see if we could answer and help them out with those issues with our actual product.
Meredith, how much are you seeing in terms of business or lenders being willing to give credit on the basis of, let's say, non-traditional information as opposed to a credit score, where you have products like Fundbox that will come in, look at your QBO history, and they can see, because you give them access to the history, that you do in fact have customers that are really paying you, and on that basis they'll give you credit, where if somebody was going strictly on your credit score, they might be inclined to decline you. How much of that kind of lending are you seeing? I would think it would be becoming more and more prevalent by now.
I would too, but it's not.
Really?
Yeah, Fundbox is the only vendor that I trust that doesn't look at your credit score, if that makes sense. I'm sure there are other businesses out there, but they're probably MCAs doing crazy things, charging crazy prices.
What are NCAs?
MCAs are merchant cash advances.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they're kind of the product that a lot of business owners get wrapped up into. I'm sure you've all had a client in this product that they don't realize.
PayPal working capital loan kind of thing?
Yeah, but PayPal's pricing is actually a lot more decent than a lot of these MCAs. These people are charging like crazy amounts, but they're taking out a percentage of your daily credit card sales. And it's good if business is bad, you're not paying as much, but I just don't think people realize quite how they're so much more expensive than other things on the market they could qualify for. Those are usually products you should only consider if you just like your credit is terrible. You can't hook up with a company like Fundbox because you don't invoice your clients. So I've actually been surprised that it hasn't been more prevalent. And I think it's just because underwriting for businesses is tough because they're so different in their financial habits. I think I've said this before, we've seen some interesting things, which I feel like some lenders are starting to like look at reviews and things like that to see like how is the business doing from a more like qualitative perspective. I remember a story that I've probably told before on one of these where somebody was talking about like a restaurant had changed hands and they were underwriting for the new owner and they noticed the reviews went from really positive to really negative. And that was a sign for them that like maybe this business is not being run as well as it could. I am encouraged that will evolve. I just don't think we're there yet. And I think that I think things will start to come together, especially as more and more data is collected in ways, unfortunately, we don't know, but being aggregated in a way that may paint a larger financial picture, hopefully for your advantage. But I mean, I still think that's the one thing business owners are the most shocked about is how their personal credit score will influence their financing options and their credit card options.
Right. I'm also seeing more of these offers. I've gotten them directly from companies where they claim that they can evaluate my credit worthiness without actually hitting my credit. In fact, Fundbox offered to do an increase to what they were willing to lend me. And by the way, I don't invoice, and they're still willing to give me credit because I guess they can still see that there's revenues coming in on a regular basis. But they offered, without hitting my credit, that they could evaluate me for an increase in the cap of what they were willing to lend me. I turned it down because I just didn't need it. But what do you, I mean, are you seeing more of that? And how does that work even?
So what you don't know is that people are looking at your credit. They're just doing a soft pull, and that's where they just see the score. And so it doesn't reflect on your credit history or anything. So that's the difference. Hard pull, it shows up on your credit report. It can ding your credit score. So I don't necessarily think that's what Fundbox is doing. I think they're doing it through QuickBooks and evaluating your revenue. But for example, through Fundera, when you get through a certain point in our process, we've soft looked at your credit from a soft perspective, so we can present you with the right options. A lot of people don't know their credit score. They self-report something that's either way lower than it is or way higher than it is. So we do that so we can make sure we're putting the right thing for you. I mean, the same thing goes when you get those like pre-qualified offers for credit cards in the mail. They've already soft pulled your credit. So they're correct. When they say they don't hit your credit, that means that they're not doing a hard pull. It's totally different. So they're like, we don't even look at your credit. And that's something people care about if their credit is bad. If credit's good.
And I'm convinced that those so-called pre-qualified offers are all BS anyway. I mean, you're not, because so many times I know of people who then follow through and apply and they get nothing. They get declined flat out. To me, if you're pre-qualified, that should mean that you're going to qualify for something, right? So to me, it's false advertising flat out when they say you're pre-qualified and then you apply and they say, no, we can't approve you for anything. To me, that means they've lied to me.
Yeah, I think it's tough because it's just not like we all wish it was that simple, but it's not, because we are doing this too. We're like, you know, what is the floor? It's like if somebody is at least at this score, we feel like they can qualify for these things or these cards, but there's always something else that influences the decision that like isn't so much of a benchmark. It's hard. So we might feel like we've got candidate that's great for a certain credit card, and you find out, oh, they actually have this like crazy history of bankruptcies or whatever. Right. They can throw people off. So you're kind of right. A lot of the pre-qualifieds are not as accurate as they could be. I do think there are some that are.
Yeah, I just wish they'd use a different term, because pre-qualified leads me to believe I'm going to qualify for something. It's just a question of how much. Maybe a different term like, hey, we think you're going to qualify. I don't.
You have a good chance of qualifying based on the information we currently have.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just be specific, and this way it comes across more honest. But so this is great stuff. I especially think it's interesting what you said, Meredith, about how they can now look at the reviews of your business online, and that can have an impact on their decision. And it makes sense that it should, because you're right. If somebody's getting crappy reviews online, that is a definite indication that their business may be heading downhill, which means they may not have the ability to repay a loan as much as it might look like they would if you just looked at things on paper as of today.
When you say online, you're talking about like Yelp, that kind of thing?
Yeah, or any of those. There's Google. There's a lot of places.
Think about it. It's all lenders are trying to do is, will this person be able to pay me back? Like, it's not a simple question to answer, but it is a simple question in and of itself. And so everybody, I don't know these people's underwriting algorithms, but some of them are much more far advanced. And I think they're just trying to create the best picture possible. And one of it is like, can this business, I mean, we all know the statistics that I hope one day we can change through our combined efforts of helping business owners be smarter financially. But so many people don't make it through the first 5 years, and businesses close every day. And so like a good indication is if they're online and business owner and their customers are saying the food is terrible, the service is terrible, don't come here. Like, it's hard nowadays to get past that as a business. We all probably have seen people in our neighborhood go out because of that, whether they deserve to or not.
Do they look at their Facebook pages?
I don't know. I again wouldn't be surprised. I would say if I'm a business owner, like, I would want to put my best foot forward no matter what, and do, like, going back to doing more what Seth had sort of said about putting as much work as possible in at the beginning. But like, obviously reviews in general is something as a business you should be monitoring for your own self and your marketing. But I guess so, because the thing that I don't like about Facebook reviews is you get a lot of random people you've never worked with coming and like leaving reviews. So if they look at Facebook reviews, I hope they're considering that, where I feel like Yelp is a little more, I mean, I'm sure Yelp has its fair share of false reviews, but it feels a little more real because they're so descriptive in the actual reviews.
Yeah, and Yelp has been doing this for a while, so I think they're pretty good about being able to weed out the ones that are not real. But yeah, there are definitely, look, your competition could be trolling you and getting to write bad reviews about you. No, you laugh, but it's true. People do this. You know, I had a client open a restaurant in Hollywood, and the neighboring businesses, for whatever reason, didn't like him. It wasn't even competition. Maybe they saw it as competition, even though it was a very different kind of restaurant than what they ran. The place next door to him was not even a restaurant. It was a totally different kind of store. But for whatever reason, they just didn't like him being there. When he first bought the place, he was doing a lot of construction. Maybe they didn't like the noise, whatever. And they started writing really bad reviews about him on Yelp. And the funny thing is, where they screwed up is they mentioned him by name. So I went in there and I flagged that post to Yelp and said, hey, look, clearly they know who the guy is. You know, they're just trying to, you know, give him a bad rap. And Yelp actually approved my sort of rebuttal to that review, and they pulled the review. So that Yelp is pretty good about that stuff. Facebook, I have no idea how good they are. Facebook, it almost seems like they're so big, it's hard to get them to listen to anything. So yeah, but yeah, I agreed. We should all be looking out for that kind of stuff. You know, there's things like Google Alerts you can do to, you know, have a search in place so that anytime your brand is mentioned on the web, you get notified, so you can just check up on it and make sure that it's, you know, all on the up and up. And that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. We got to wrap up. It's 9 o'clock Pacific. Meredith, I want to thank you so much for taking time and being with us today. This was amazing as always. Would love to have you back sooner rather than later. Real quick, because Alexa asked us a while ago, what do you think about Intuit's loan offers? I would think it depends on what the loan offer is. I think Intuit is doing something similar to what Fundbox does now, where they have their own built-in kind of version of the same thing, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's great. It's a great product. It's a little more technology-based, I guess I would say. Like, it's really, like you said, it's very like Fundbox. It's in with your QuickBooks. And I think it's great. I mean, Intuit's a wonderful brand, and going back to financing, sometimes players in the space, you want to be careful who you're working with, but Intuit's great. But I think the difference between Fundera is you get to see your full financial picture of options, and there's the personalized service element of it, in the sense of you're working with somebody through this process. So whatever questions you have, we'll answer, and we'll be really honest about what's best for your business, even if it means not taking a loan or going to take something like an Intuit loan offer that we don't have. So that's sort of the promise we can make to you.
Right. All right. Thank you again, Meredith. A quick couple of reminders for everybody. Coming up, Hector and I are doing our follow-up webinar on, we're calling this one Advanced Video Marketing for Accounting Pros. So if you took the first one, we're sending out a coupon code to those who are in the first one, so you can get this one for only $49. That's happening on April 27th. If you haven't tuned in, most Thursdays lately, I'm doing what I call the $47 webinar series, because the webinars are $47. We just did Track Anything in Airtable. Next Thursday, we're doing Mastering Reports in QuickBooks Online. So check all that out on my website. In the webinars in the shopping cart area, you'll see the live webinars that are coming up. You'll see the recordings of the old ones. Every webinar is recorded and made available online, including, of course, the one I'm doing with Hector. So hope to see you all in some of these webinars that we're doing. I remain forever dedicated to producing educational content for everyone. Of course, there's always the free stuff on YouTube, and then we have the paid stuff that just goes a little deeper for you online. Meredith, thank you again so much for being with us. And let's talk. I want to talk about some live video stuff we can do in Town Hall. I'm actually excited about doing some stuff there. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So
I love it.
All right, so everybody, don't forget, search Town Hall on Facebook and request to join the group. Meredith will let you in. If she doesn't let you in, take the hint. No, I'm just kidding. And we'll see you all around the web. I'm sure Gina's doing her hangout later today at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. Just go to SBAA or
Actually, it starts at 2.
Oh, 2. She changed the time. Okay, 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll have to remember that. Just go to SBAA on Facebook, Small Business Accounting Advisors, and you will find that for sure. As always, it's been fun. It's been wonderful. Don't forget, I got 99 problems, but alone ain't one, thanks to Fundera. And we'll see you all around on the web. I got to jump in and do my next call for the day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.